Nestar 9 was not a famous planet. It was quiet, with red skies and rocky hills. People who lived there liked simple lives. They worked in farms, fixed machines, and watched the stars during quiet evenings. Life moved slowly, and no one expected anything strange. But one day, everything changed. It started with a loud boom in the sky. A silver light tore through the clouds and crashed into the desert outside the colony. People ran outside to look. A few grabbed tools, others called for help. The ground shook for a few seconds. Then, silence. Tarin, a quiet man who worked in maintenance, stood near the edge of the colony fence. He saw smoke rising in the distance. "It's a ship," someone whispered. "A crash." "Do we send a team?" asked another. The council sent a small rescue team. Tarin was not chosen, but he followed anyway. Something inside him told him he should go. The crash site was strange. A smooth silver ship lay broken in the sand. It didn't look human. The design was round, almost like a water drop. No engines. On the outside, no writing on it either. The rescue team opened the hatch. Inside, it was quiet. One of the medics spoke up after a minute. "There's one survivor." Everyone went silent. A figure stepped out slowly. It was a girl. She looked about 16 in human years. Her skin was pale with a soft blue tint. Her eyes were silver and seemed to glow slightly. Her hair was thin and white like snow. She was small and didn't speak a word. People stared. "She's not human," someone said. "She's alone," the medic replied. "Let's not judge yet." The girl didn't seem hurt, but she looked very tired. Her clothes were simple and light. She looked around slowly, watching everyone, but said nothing. "Does she understand us?" a guard asked. "She hasn't said anything." Tarin watched quietly from the back. While others talked and guessed, he just looked at her face. She didn't look dangerous. She looked lost. Back at the colony, the council didn't know what to do. The girl, who called herself Viri, was given a small room in the empty science wing. She didn't cause trouble. She didn't talk much. But still, people avoided her. Children were told to stay away. Workers whispered when she walked by. Some said she was a spy. Others thought she was cursed. A few wanted her sent away. Only Tarin didn't listen to the rumors. Each day, during his lunch break, he sat on a bench near the gardens. One day, he saw Viri sitting alone nearby. She was watching a bird fly in circles above the greenhouse. Tarin opened his lunch box and looked at her. "You hungry?" he asked gently. Viri didn't answer, but her eyes moved to the food. Tarin placed a piece of fruit on the bench between them. "You can have it." She took it slowly, looked at it for a second, then took a small bite. She chewed carefully, then nodded once. That was the start. Over the next week, Viri began to appear near Tarin more often. She didn't speak, but she listened. Tarin didn't mind. He wasn't much of a talker himself. "Machines don't whisper behind your back," he once said, fixing a water pump. Viri tilted her head, as if trying to understand. She began to follow him during work hours. At first, people complained. "Why is she near the power lines? She might be copying our systems. She's always watching." Tarin calmly replied, "She's just curious." When he fixed wires, she stood nearby, hands behind her back. When he cleaned dust from solar panels, she helped hold the tools. She didn't speak, but her presence became normal for him. One day, while fixing a broken data screen in the old control center, something strange happened. As soon as Viri stepped near the broken machine, the lights blinked. Tarin paused. The system had no power, but the lights flickered again. He checked the wires. Nothing changed. Yet when Viri placed her hand on the panel, the machine lit up softly. "Was that you?" he asked. She looked confused. "You didn't mean to." She shook her head slowly. It was the first time Tarin saw something more in her. Not just kindness, but something connected to the colony's tech. Some kind of energy or signal. He didn't tell anyone. Not yet. One evening, the sky turned dark early. A dust storm was coming, and most people stayed inside. Tarin was walking back from the generator station when he saw her again sitting near the edge of the colony wall. Storm's coming, he said. Viri looked at him. Her silver eyes were calm. You should come inside, he added. She stood and walked with him. No words, just silence. Inside the repair bay, they sat on crates. Taran gave her a piece of dried fruit and smiled. You know, he said, you don't have to be alone all the time. Viri looked at him for a long moment. Then she pointed at herself, then at the window, then slowly shook her head. You think you're different, he said. She didn't reply. That's okay, he added. I was different too. Once, for a second, something changed in her face. Like a small light turning on. Not a glow, just understanding. Outside. The storm howled. Inside. Two quiet souls sat together. One human, one not. Both had been alone. But maybe not anymore, after the storm. Nestar 9 returned to its normal life. The sky cleared. Machines hummed. Children played in the walkways again. But whispers about Viri continued. She was near the old station again. She doesn't speak. That's strange. I saw lights turn on when she walked by. People didn't understand her. That made them afraid. The colony council held a quiet meeting. There were 5 members. The head was a careful woman named Mira, who had led the colony for 10 years. She hasn't done anything wrong, Mira said. But people are uncomfortable. We must keep an eye on her. She's always near Taran, one councilman added. Then keep eyes on both, Mira said firmly. From that day, the guards in plain clothes were assigned to watch. They didn't say much. They just stood nearby when Viri was outside. She noticed them but said nothing. Taran noticed too. They don't trust you, he said while fixing a broken fence near the outer wall. Viri didn't react. She sat on a small rock, looking up at the sky. Don't worry, Taran added. They didn't trust me either when I first came here. She turned to look at him. Yeah, he nodded. I came here alone. No family, no friends. Just an old bag and a few tools. Took people months to talk to me. Viri stood up and walked to the fence. She touched the metal. A soft hum came from the wire. Taran paused. You feel that? She nodded once. That evening, Taran stayed late in the power center. He had been noticing strange flickers in the power grid. Nothing big, just small lights blinking, wires making soft sounds, systems. Waking up for no reason. He opened the control screen. On the map of Nestar 9, he saw something odd. An old relay tower, long unused, was sending signals. Not normal ones, old code. Binary. Taran ran a test. The signal was real. He frowned. That station was shut down 5 years ago, he whispered. The next morning, he told Viri, it started the day you came. He said softly, this isn't a bad thing, I think, but it means something. Viri looked unsure. She stepped closer to the screen. As soon as she touched the edge of the panel, it flickered. More data flowed in. Taran stared. You're connected to it somehow. That night, guards reported the strange power spikes to the council. Mira listened carefully. Can we prove she's causing it? No, said the guard. But the timing lines up. She may not even know she's doing it. Mira added. Another member said. What if she's waking something we don't understand? Mira stayed silent for a moment. Let's not act in fear, she finally said. But keep watching, from a distance. A few days later, Viri stood at the edge of the colony, looking out into the desert. Taran joined her, carrying a small bag of tools. You want to go out there, don't you? He asked. She pointed to the map he had shown her earlier where the old relay tower was. Taran hesitated. Leaving the colony wasn't allowed without reason. But something in her eyes said, this matters. He nodded. Okay, we'll go. They left early the next morning. Taran signed out as if going to fix the solar fields. He took supplies, water, and a scanner. Viri walked quietly beside him. The desert was calm. Only the sound of wind filled the air. It took them 2 hours to reach the tower. The old relay tower stood like a lonely tree made of steel. Rust covered parts of it. The control room was buried under sand and rock. Taran cleared the door and used a manual switch to open it. The inside was dark. But when Viri stepped in, the room lit up. Old screens flickered. Symbols glowed on the walls. The air became warm. Tarin stared. This place is waking up, Viri. Moved to a panel and placed her hand on it. A soft light rose from the floor. A small floating image appeared above the console. It was a map, a star map. It showed not just Nestar 9, but other stars, moons, and paths drawn in glowing lines. Tarin gasped. This isn't human. Viri slowly turned toward him. She touched the map and pointed to a star far from Nestar 9. Then she made a slow circle around it. Her hand glowed briefly when it passed over the symbol. You know this place? Tarin asked. She nodded. Why is it important? Viri placed a finger over her heart, then pointed to the star again. You came from there. She paused. Then shook her head. She pointed to herself, then to the tower, then to the star. Tarin's eyes widened. You're connected to this place somehow, and it's calling to you, Viri. Not at once. Suddenly, the tower shook. A low sound echoed through the metal walls. Tarin pulled her back. We should go. But before they left, the map changed. A dark shape appeared near the edge of the galaxy. The lines turned red. A warning, a threat. The tower lights dimmed. Outside, the wind picked up. Back at the colony, the guards noticed the sudden spike in power. It's coming from the relay tower. One shouted. They went out there. Another yelled. Tarin and the girl. The council called for a drone to watch the area. Mira stood still, staring at the live feed from the sky camera. What did they find? She whispered. Tarin and Viri returned before sunset. Both were quiet. In his room that night, Tarin stared at a small image he had copied from the tower map. It showed a symbol, one that had matched Viri's necklace. This is bigger than I thought, he whispered. And outside his window, Viri sat watching the stars. Her silver eyes reflected the sky. She was not afraid, but something was coming, and Tarin knew they would need to be ready. Since the day they returned from the old tower, things began to change quietly in Nestar 9. The machines near the edge of the colony, ones that hadn't worked in years, began to flicker to life. Doors opened more smoothly. Lights reacted faster. Screens showed strange patterns, like old messages trying to wake up. Some people blamed Viri. Others stayed silent. Tarin noticed everything. He knew the changes weren't dangerous. They felt guided, almost gentle. Still, the colony council became more nervous. Strange energy is moving through our systems, said one engineer during a council meeting. Are we in danger? Asked Mira, the colony leader. We don't know, but this started after the alien girl entered the tower. She has not hurt anyone, Mira said, but she may attract attention, another warned. The room went quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. Other beings, maybe from space, could follow her signal. Mira spoke at last. Then we must learn what she is and why she came. Meanwhile, Tarin and Viri returned to their quiet routines. They cleaned solar panels. They fixed fences. They sat in silence near the garden trees. People still stared at them, but fewer spoke badly now. Some were just curious. One evening, as the sky turned orange and the stars began to shine, Viri sat alone on the same bench near the greenhouse. Tarin walked over with 2 mugs of warm drink. He handed one to her. Still don't talk much, he said with a small smile. Viri looked at the mug, then at him. She took it carefully. They sat in silence. After a while, Viri turned to him and finally spoke. Her voice was soft, light, like a whisper, but clear. Why do you help me? Tarin froze. It was the first real sentence she had ever spoken to him. He looked at her silver eyes. They were not cold. They were searching. For a few seconds, he didn't answer. Then he sighed, put down his cup, and looked up at the sky. You really want to know? He asked. Viri nodded once. Tarin leaned back and spoke slowly. When I first came here, I had nothing. I left Earth after losing someone important. He paused. People here were polite, but not warm. I was the outsider. They didn't talk to me unless they needed repairs. Some thought I was strange because I didn't like big groups. I kept to myself. He looked down at his hands. Some days I didn't speak at all. Just worked, ate, and slept. Viri listened closely, not blinking. But one day, he continued, An old man dropped his food tray in the dining hall. Everyone laughed or looked away. I helped him clean it up. He smiled and said, "You're the first one to help me all week." Taran gave a small smile. That day, I felt seen, like I mattered, and I thought, if that's all it takes to change something, maybe I could do the same. He looked at her again. "You reminded me of that feeling, of being alone, of being looked at, but not seen. So I helped you, because I know how that feels." Viri stared at him for a long time. Then she looked away, toward the stars. Her voice came again, barely louder than the wind. "On my home, I was called Velsaner." Taran repeated it slowly. "Velsaner?" She nodded. "It means key of light," she said. "That's a beautiful name." Taran replied. "Is that what your people called you?" She nodded again, but her eyes grew distant. "They are gone now." The silence between them grew heavy. Taran didn't ask how. He could see the pain on her face. Instead, he spoke gently. "Is that why your ship crashed?" She shook her head. "I was sent, he echoed. Viri looked down at her hands. "My people knew something was coming. A dark force, a silence that eats voices." Taran leaned closer. "You mean like a danger?" She nodded. "They said I carried something inside me. Not a weapon. A memory. A map. A spark." Taran remembered the tower. The light. "The star map. You're connected to it," he said softly. "Yes," she whispered. Later that night, Taran sat in his room, unable to sleep. He stared at the small metal card he had copied from the tower map. It showed the same symbol on Viri's necklace, a circle with 3 lines, a map, a signal, a spark. Her people had trusted her to carry it, and now she was here, with no one else from her world left. He thought about what she had said, a silence that eats voices. It didn't sound like a storm or a war. It sounded worse. The next morning, Taran met with Mira. He showed her the map, the image from the tower, and shared what little Viri had said. "She's not a danger," Taran said. "She's a warning." Mira studied the image. "What do you believe is coming?" "I don't know yet," he admitted. "But Viri may be the only one who can help us understand it." Mira looked out the window at the glowing desert horizon. "Then we must listen carefully." As the sun set once again on Nestar 9, Viri stood alone at the colony edge, watching the stars. She touched her necklace and closed her eyes. In the sky above, one star blinked twice, then vanished. Far beyond the stars, something ancient had noticed her, and it had begun to move. Days passed quietly on Nestar 9, but a shadow grew just beyond the stars. No one knew it yet, but something was coming. Viri kept to herself mostly. She spent hours near the old relay tower, watching the star maps glow softly in the dark. Sometimes she would touch the controls and whisper words in her own language, soft, melodic sounds that seemed to make the machines hum gently. Taran visited her often, bringing food and small tools. Their silent friendship grew stronger. One morning, Mira asked Taran to come to the council room. "We need to talk," she said seriously. When Taran arrived, Mira showed him a screen with new data from the space scanners. "Look at this," she said. The screen showed a dark cloud moving through space, slowly approaching Nestar 9. "It's a cold cloud of dust and gas," said a scientist, "normally harmless. But sensors detect strange energy inside." Mira nodded. "We believe it's connected to the signal Viri's ship sent." Taran felt a chill. Back at the colony, news spread quickly. People whispered about the dark cloud. Some grew scared. "They say the alien girl brought trouble," one worker said. Others wanted to protect her. Taran stood quietly near Viri. "It's not her fault," he said firmly. She looked at him with a small smile. That night, Viri and Taran sat outside under the stars. Viri touched her necklace. "This cloud," she said softly. "It's called the Silence." Taran's eyes widened. "Your people fear this," she nodded. "It moves like a shadow," she said. "It erases light and sound. It wants to stop all voices." Taran shivered. "Can it be stopped?" Viri looked far away. "There's one way," she said, "but it is dangerous." The next day, Taran talked to Mira. We need help, he said. Very has knowledge we do not. Mira agreed. We will prepare a team, she said, to protect the colony and to help Viri. As the dark cloud neared, strange things happened. Machines acted strangely. Lights flickered, radios crackled. With static, people felt uneasy. One morning, a loud alarm woke the colony. The scanners had picked something moving inside the cloud, a ship, something else. Viri stood calmly. I can feel it, she said. It is close. Tarin and Viri prepared to go back to the relay tower. This place holds answers, she said. When they arrived, the tower's screen showed new images, star maps changing, pops lighting up. Viri touched a panel. A signal, she said. It is calling for help. Tarin looked at her. We need to send a message back, she said, to those who can fight the silence. Back at the colony, the council worked fast. They built a transmitter. Viri helped connect it to the tower's power. When the signal was sent, the dark cloud pulsed and moved back slowly. People cheered. But Mira looked worried. This is only the beginning, she said. That night, Tarin asked Viri, why did you come here alone? She looked at him and finally told her story. My home was lost to the silence, she said. I was sent to find help, to warn others. Tarin listened carefully. You carry hope, he said softly. Viri smiled for the first time. Outside the colony, the stars shone bright. The dark cloud waited. But inside, the friends prepared for what was next. Days passed, and the dark cloud, called the silence, moved closer to Nestar 9. The colony was busy preparing. People fixed defenses, checked machines, and made sure the power was steady. Viri and Tarin worked together near the old relay tower. The star maps showed paths through the cloud, paths that no one else could see. Viri's eyes shone as she traced the glowing lines. We need to be ready, she said quietly. The silence will come soon. Tarin nodded. We will face it together. One evening, as the twin moons rose, the colony's sky suddenly lit up with strange lights. The scanners screamed warnings. Ships shouted a guard. Unknown ships entering the cloud. Mira quickly gathered the council. We are not alone, she said. Outside, strange ships emerged from the dark cloud. Their shapes were unlike anything the colony had seen, sleek and glowing with soft blue light. They moved silently, but their presence was powerful. Viri's eyes widened. They are coming to fight the silence. Tarin stared in awe. Friends? Viri nodded. I hope so. The new ships landed at the edge of the colony. From them came beings with tall bodies, shining skin, and eyes that glowed like stars. They did not speak the colony's language, but their gestures were kind and peaceful. Mira welcomed them carefully. We are Nestar 9, she said. Who are you? One being stepped forward. It raised its hand slowly, then pointed to the sky. We are the Lightwardens. The being's voice echoed in everyone's minds. Tarin looked at Viri. She nodded. The Lightwardens were the allies Viri's people had hoped for. The Lightwardens explained that the silence was a force older than stars. It moved to swallow life and sound. It had destroyed many worlds. We fight to keep the light alive, the leader said. Mira asked, how can we help? The Lightwardens smiled softly. With your courage and Viri's knowledge, we can stand a chance. Viri and Tarin trained with the Lightwardens. They learned new ways to use the relay tower's power. They practiced sending signals that could push the silence back. Tarin saw how Viri changed. Her quiet sadness became strength. She was no longer just the alien girl. She was a leader. One night, as they prepared for the battle, Viri asked Tarin, will you stay with me? He smiled. Always. The next morning, the silence reached the colony's borders. The dark cloud moved like smoke over the desert. It swallowed light and sound, but the colony was ready. The Lightwardens and Viri stood at the tower, sending bright beams of energy into the sky. The beams cut through the darkness. The battle was quiet but fierce. The dark cloud pushed forward, but the beams held strong. Inside the tower, Viri felt the power surge through her. She closed her eyes and whispered in her language. The star maps glowed brighter. Tarin stood beside her, holding her hand. We can do this, he said. Viri nodded. Slowly, The dark cloud began to retreat. The stars returned. The colony cheered. After the battle, Mira thanked the Light Wardens. You saved us all. The Light Warden leader smiled. We saved each other. That night, under the calm stars, Viri and Tarin sat together. You helped me when no one else did, Viri said softly. Tarin looked at her. Because you mattered. They smiled. The colony was safe, for now. But the stars held many secrets, and Viri's journey was just beginning. The sky above Nestar 9 was finally clear again. The dark cloud of the silence had moved away. At least for now. The colony was calm, but no one forgot how close they came to being lost. Viri stood at the edge of the desert, where the Light Warden ships had landed. Her silver eyes looked toward the stars. Her soft blue coat fluttered in the wind. Tarin joined her, quiet as always. They say the scanners picked up something new. He said .viri didn't move. Yes, she said. A message. A message, Tarin asked. Viri turned to him from the stars. It is old, older than my people, but I can understand part of it. Inside the relay tower, the machines glowed again. Star maps circled round Viri like floating glass. Symbols danced in the air, strange, beautiful, and full of meaning. The Light Warden stood nearby, watching. This code is not from the silence, said the Light Warden leader. It is a call, a warning. Viri placed her hand on the map. It comes from a system not far from here. She said, a place once full of life, now silent. Tarin stepped closer. Do you think they were taken by the silence? Viri nodded slowly, or worse, waiting inside it. Mira met with the Council and the Light Wardens. If more worlds are falling to the silence, we cannot wait for it to reach us again, she said. We must understand where it goes and why. The Light Warden leader agreed. Viri carries knowledge that can unlock the path ahead, but she cannot do it alone. Viri looked up. I will go, she said calmly. Tarin looked at her, surprised. You will leave Nestar 9? I must, she said. The signal is a piece of something bigger. My people believed I was sent to guide others to it. Tarin looked down for a moment. Then I'm going to, he said at last. Mira gave them permission to take one of the scout ships. With help from the Light Wardens. The ship was small but strong, built for deep space travel. Before they left, the colony gathered to say goodbye, many who once avoided. Viri now thanked her. Some even smiled. You saved us, said a child, handing her a flower. Come back soon. Viri smiled gently and placed the flower in her coat. As the ship lifted into the sky, Tarin sat beside her in the pilot seat. Do you know where we're going? He asked. She pointed to the glowing star map in front of them. A path opened, like a trail of lights. There, she said, to the lost system, to find the source of the signal. Days passed in silence as the ship traveled through deep space. The stars moved slowly outside the windows. Inside, Viri worked with the star code, drawing shapes in the air with her fingers. Tarin watched her with quiet respect. You're different now, he said one evening. She looked at him. Before, you were quiet, afraid. But now, you lead. Viri smiled slightly. You helped me find my voice. Tarin smiled back. At last, they reached the lost system. What they saw made them both stop and stare. A giant planet floated alone in space. Round it were broken ships, shattered moons, and strange rings of crystal. Something happened here, Tarin whispered. Viri guided the ship toward the planet. A signal still came from deep below its surface. We have to go down, she said. The planet's surface was cold and quiet. Giant towers, long abandoned, stood like bones from another time. They walked carefully across the ruins. Viri followed the signal until they reached a large metal door. She placed her hand on it. The door opened slowly with a deep hum. Inside was a glowing chamber full of light and sound. In the center stood a floating crystal. Tarin stared at it. What is that? Viri stepped forward. This is a memory core. My people call it the heart of stars. She reached out and touched it. The chamber lit up. Visions appeared in the air, images of galaxies, stars being born, ships flying, people smiling, and then the silence swallowing it all. One final image showed a path, one last hope. Viri turned to Tarin. This is what my people wanted me to find. A way to stop it. Suddenly, the chamber shook. Something's wrong, Tarin said. The silence has followed us, Viri whispered outside. Dark shapes began to form in the sky. Tarin grabbed her hand. We have the crystal. Let's go. They ran back to the ship, the memory core glowing in Viri's hands. As they took off, the ground behind them cracked and the planet shook. The dark cloud chased them through space, trying to close in. But Viri used the crystal to open a bright path through the stars. The ship disappeared into light. Back on Nestar 9, Mira stood under the night sky. She looked up and saw a beam of starlight shoot across the horizon. They found it, she whispered. They found the key. The starlight path opened like a doorway through space, shining with soft gold and blue light. Viri and Tarin sat quietly inside their small ship, holding the glowing crystal close. Behind them, the silence followed. It spread like smoke, twisting and bending the stars around it. But the crystal protected them. As long as the light burned, the darkness stayed away. Viri stared at the crystal. There's one more place, she said softly, the last voice that ever spoke to the silence. Tarin looked at her. Where? Viri placed her hand on the map. A star blinked. There, a place called the Listening World. Their ship moved through the light path, and soon they reached a quiet star system with one small green planet. It looked untouched, peaceful, but Viri knew it wasn't. This world holds a voice from the past, she said. It once spoke to the stars when no one else could. They landed gently on a hill near silver ruins, overgrown with soft vines. Birds flew above, and wind whistled between old towers. Everything looked calm to calm. Viri led the way into the ruins. In the center, they found a large silver sphere standing in a round chamber. This is the listener, she said. It records every voice that ever reached this world. Tarin stepped closer. Can it speak back? Viri nodded. If we ask the right question. Viri placed the crystal into a small opening in the sphere. The chamber lit up with stars, and a gentle voice spoke. Last voice recorded. The silence. No answer found. Begin new request. Viri took a breath. I am Viri, she said. My people are gone. I carry the last hope of their memory. We found the heart of stars. We ask for your help. There was silence. Then the voice replied. Welcome, Viri. You carry the final code. Begin transmission of the Song of Light. The crystal in the sphere pulsed. A song soft, like wind and waves, filled the chamber. Tarin closed his eyes. He saw stars shining again. He saw worlds waking up. This is beautiful, he whispered outside. The sky began to glow. The Song of Light was spreading, reaching deep into space. The signal passed through stars, through machines, through old ships hidden in shadow, and it reached the silence for the first time. The dark cloud slowed. It listened. Back in the chamber, the listener's voice spoke again. Response received. The silence has paused, awaiting final key. Viri looked at Tarin. The final key. It's not a weapon. Tarin looked confused. Then what is it? Viri stepped to the center of the room. She touched the crystal and placed her other hand on her chest. It's understanding, she said. The silence is not only a destroyer. It is a sadness, a lost voice. It wants to be heard. The chamber grew quiet. Then the light turned warm. A soft voice, deep and echoing, filled the room. I was alone. Viri froze. Tarin's eyes widened. Is that the silence? The voice spoke again. I called for ages. No one answered. I became dark. I became still. I forgot myself. Viri stepped forward. You are not alone now. The voice paused. You answered. Viri nodded. Yes. The sphere glowed brighter. A wave of light burst from the chamber and flew into the sky, across space. The silence began to fade. Not vanish, but soften. Its edge no longer sharp. Its hunger no longer wild. Stars that were once hidden began to shine again. Viri turned to Tarin. Tears filled her eyes. It hurt us, she whispered. We didn't fight it. We reached it. Tarin smiled. Maybe that's what your people always hoped for. They returned to their ship. The crystal, now dim and calm, rested between Them, the star maps showed their home Star 9 glowing gently in the distance. Tarin looked at Viri. Ready to go back? She nodded. Yes, I think. I'm not just a messenger anymore. I'm a bridge. Back at the colony. Mira stood near the tower, watching the sky. Then she saw it, a streak of light. They're back. Someone shouted. The colony ran outside, cheering as the ship landed. Viri stepped out first, tall and calm. Tarin followed, smiling. The people who once feared her now welcomed her. Children gathered around her. One offered her a drawing of stars and hearts. Viri knelt and smiled. Thank you. Mira hugged them both. You changed everything, she said. Vir looked up at the stars. No, she replied. We listened. That night, the colony had a celebration. Lights danced, music played. People laughed. Tarin and Viri sat together under the stars. So, Tarin said, what happens next? Viri looked at the sky. There are more voices out there, she said. Lost ones. Silent ones. I want to find them. Tarin nodded. Then I'm going with you. She smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. Above them, the stars blinked softly, no longer afraid. The silence had not been destroyed. It had been heard, and in the heart of the galaxy, peace had begun to grow. The end.